She never knew what love felt like, until a simple job offer led her to a mansion filled with silence, secrets, and a pair of eyes that saw through her broken soul. Claire Whitmore had never truly belonged anywhere. Orphaned at 3, passed like an unwanted parcel to a distant aunt who barely spoke to her, Claire learned early that survival didn't come wrapped in affection. At 16, while her classmates decorated cupcakes and gossiped about prom, Claire scrubbed floors and polished mirrors in strangers' homes, just to afford a loaf of bread. She had learned to walk quietly, speak softly, and expect nothing. But on a gray Tuesday morning, a single line in the newspaper changed everything. Live-in housekeeper needed. Immediate start. No experience required. No references needed. Just someone who could clean, stay silent, and sleep under the same roof. Claire's heart raced. It wasn't just a job. It was escape. The address led her to a place that didn't seem real. An ivory-colored mansion stood behind tall black gates, framed by cypress trees and perfection. Claire had only seen such homes on TV. Places with golden chandeliers, spiral staircases, and people who never looked you in the eye. She was told to wait in the kitchen. Every detail around her gleamed. The marble counters, the scent of polished wood, the silence heavy as glass. Claire stood nervously, hands clasped, trying to control the tremble in her fingers. That's when she appeared. Emily Reed, 50, impeccable. A woman who smelled of expensive perfume and control. "Good morning," she said, her voice like ice across porcelain. "Tell me about yourself." Claire swallowed. "I've cleaned houses for the past 5 years. I'm good at organizing, I don't make noise, and I can cook if needed." Emily stared at her like one might inspect an old vase. "Fine. You start tomorrow. Bring your things. You know you'll be living here, yes?" Claire nodded, hiding the joy that threatened to escape through her eyes. She didn't smile. Not yet. Not in front of Emily. Claire's first few days felt like walking through glass. Emily issued instructions with clipped precision and offered no warmth. Every mistake, real or imagined, was met with cold remarks. "The silverware isn't aligned. Did you even wipe this counter properly? Don't touch the windows. I have a service for that." Claire obeyed, bit her tongue, and worked until her hands ached. One morning, as she swept the veranda, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned and bumped directly into him. Papers flew. A briefcase hit the floor. "I'm so sorry," she gasped, kneeling to help. "It's all right," he replied gently, crouching to pick up the scattered documents. "You must be the new housekeeper. I'm Thomas. Thomas Reed, 27. Sharp jaw, thoughtful eyes, suit without arrogance." Claire froze. "Yes, Claire." "Well, Claire," he smiled softly. "Good luck surviving my mother." He walked away, chuckling, leaving Claire stunned, not just by his kindness, but by how her heart reacted to it. Weeks passed. Claire became part of the house, yet invisible. Emily continued to criticize. Claire continued to endure. Thomas, however, started to see her. One afternoon, Thomas found her behind the garden's old oak tree. She was curled up on the bench, eyes swollen from crying. He didn't speak at first, just sat beside her, offering quiet company. Finally he asked, Does she do this often? Claire nodded, wiping her eyes. I try not to mind. I need this job. You deserve better, he whispered. That moment became the beginning. Their talks became routine. After dinner, beneath the fading light, they met near the tree. Sometimes they spoke of books, sometimes of pain. Claire shared her childhood in fragments. Thomas shared his dreams, the pressure of the family empire, and the loneliness of wealth. It wasn't romantic, not yet, but something sacred was forming in the space between their words. A slow-burning fire neither dared name. Months passed. Claire's heart betrayed her. She began to wait for 6:30 p.m. every evening like a prayer. Thomas, on the other hand, noticed how often he smiled when she was near, how silence with her felt safer than words with anyone else, and how the world outside their tree seemed suddenly too loud, too meaningless. Still he resisted. She was the housekeeper. He was the heir. This was not supposed to happen. But emotions don't follow rules. And love doesn't ask permission. One evening, Emily spotted them. Claire laughing, Thomas leaning too close. The next morning, Claire found a note on the table. You will not speak to my son again. Know your place. That night, voices echoed from the drawing room. She's a person, mother. Not your servant to command. You're making a fool of yourself, Thomas. Over a maid. She has more grace in her silence than you've ever had in your life. Claire heard it all. And it shattered her. The next day she packed a small bag. No one said a word. She and Thomas made a silent mutual decision. Distance, for safety. But love, once planted, refuses to die so easily. 2 years had passed. Claire was now working as a florist in a small shop in the countryside of Vermont. The town was quiet, kind, filled with chilly mornings and afternoons scented with cinnamon. She had learned to smile again, to trust in the small joys, the fragrance of a rose, the sound of the bell above the door, the kindness of strangers. But every night when she closed her eyes, she saw his, Thomas, the only man who had seen all of her, the only one who knew the pain she masked behind smiles. And now, there was another reason that silence hurt even more. A reason with green eyes and a shy smile. Oliver, 1 year and 4 months old. Light brown hair, an easy smile, and eyes that reminded her of him. Claire never told Thomas. She didn't want to destroy him. She didn't want to face Emily's scorn or stain the Reed name with scandal. She would raise her son with dignity, alone if she had to. But destiny has its own agenda. It was just another afternoon. Claire was arranging daisies and hydrangeas in the shop's stained glass window when she heard the door open. Sorry, we're about to close. The words died on her lips. There he was, Thomas Reed, 2 years older, firmer, more handsome than she dared remember. She almost dropped the vase. Claire, he said softly, like whispering a prayer. She stepped back, rigid, in shock. What are you doing here? She whispered, body trembling. Looking for you, he replied without hesitation. Since the day you disappeared. Claire felt the world spin. He was really there. Before any explanation could be given, a soft cry echoed from the back of the shop. Thomas furrowed his brows. Claire turned pale. Oliver, just waking from his nap, was waving his little hands in the air, inside a makeshift playpen between flower pots and ribbons. Thomas followed the sound. He stopped. He looked. And the world went still. Oliver's eyes met his. Green. Identical. A reflection impossible to ignore. He's... Thomas couldn't finish. Claire lowered her head, tears falling before the words. Yes. He's your son. They sat on the floor of the shop. Neither of them could say much. Oliver, oblivious, chewed on a plush giraffe. Claire told him everything. A letter. The decision to leave. The pain of walking away. The choice to protect the boy. Even at the cost of her own heart. Thomas listened in silence. He didn't interrupt. He didn't judge. By the end, his eyes were wet. You took from me the right to know him, he said. Not with anger, just sorrow. Claire could only whisper, "Forgive me." Thomas came closer, picked up Oliver in his arms, and the boy smiled as if he recognized him. And in that moment, Thomas cried for the first time in years. Claire feared what would come next. A lawyer. A custody claim. Emily's pride dressed in a tailored suit. But Thomas was not Emily. He returned to the shop in the days that followed. Helped with the flowers. Played with Oliver. Listened to Claire like someone listens to rare music. He didn't demand. He didn't pressure. He rebuilt, piece by piece. A month later, he invited her to the mansion. Claire hesitated. She hadn't set foot there since she fled, heart in ruins. But something had changed. Emily Reed was no longer there. After a serious illness, she had passed away months before, leaving Thomas as the sole owner of everything. The house was quiet, but the garden was alive. Colorful flowers, butterflies, and in the midst of them, the old oak where everything began. Thomas took Claire's hand. You were the only one who ever loved me without asking for anything in return. And that's why I love you back. In every possible way. Claire cried. But this time it was with relief. He knelt. This isn't about protocol. It's not about Oliver. It's about you. The woman who taught me what a home is. Claire, will you marry me? She didn't answer with words. Only with a kiss. Full of lost time, healed pain and future. 3 years later, the garden was now famous. They called it Claire's Secret Garden. Couples proposed there. Children played under the blooms. And Claire was happy. Truly. Without fear. Thomas laughed loudly. Oliver ran through the flowers. And deep in her soul, she knew God had guided her steps, even on the darkest days. Because sometimes love doesn't come like a storm. Comes like a garden. Silent, persistent, and absolutely eternal.